I'm over 100 hours in to Once Human, and here are 5 things I wish I knew before I started playing. Because there are so many things that you need to know in this game, and I've done this across a couple of different servers. My first server was my good learn to play the game one. My second server was with a group of people, and I've learned so much across that. But I've also talked to those people who I've been playing with, and yeah, I fully agree with some of the stuff that they have said. So here is my top 5. Starcrom is an incredibly useful resource in the game because you can buy blueprints with it, but it is rather limited. There are only 4 ways to get it inside Once Human. You've got seasonal goals, so we can go and check those out here. You get those from doing your stars and completing all of your missions across this. So I've gotten, 400, 600, and 1,000. So it gives you 2k. You can only do that once every phase. So there's not a huge amount on offer there. So at the moment, I've had the chance to get 6,000 Starcrom. When one legendary blueprint is 8,000, it's a little rough. The second way is territory purification. You can gain Starcrom by performing territory purifications and purifying 40 Eclipse Cortexes or Chaotic Cortexes each week. I've already hit my cap. I did that in one hit. The best way to get those, I was using level 3, and it got me, I think, like 1,400 maybe. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, please. But that's not that much either, and that's every 7 days of in-game time. That's once per phase as well. You can gain it from the Prime War to large quantities of Starcrom if you are successful during the first round of each regional Prime War. Oh, you only get it once? Dude, and you don't even get that much. It's 800 per Prime War, and I think there's 6 on the map. So I've done 3 of them. I've done 1, 2, and 3. I've done the easy ones. I'm working on... I finally got a permit to do the hard ones, and I've only got 1 permit, so I don't think I could do all 3 of them. But the easy ones only give you 800, and the hard ones give you 1,000. A little bit more on offer, but again, hard, like not that much overall. So you really need to be saving it. The only other thing you can do is go to the Stellar Planula shop, which is in any city. Go find the dude with a Deviant, and you can buy Starcom crates. It's a maximum per season, keep that in mind, per season, not per phase, of 4,000 if you buy it that way. So the total offer really isn't that much of this, and it is a very, very valuable resource. Because let's say we go to my wish machine here, and this is one of the big tips in not wasting it. Don't actually make a wish at 500 per hit, and just the sheer limited amount that you can get. Unless you get the legendary straight up, you got no shot. Like my options to buy the sniper rifle that I want, the hammer. I want this one. I want this one so bad. Unfortunately, I either spend 8,000, which we've just spoken about. That's a lot. That's a lot of stuff for a lot of time to wait. Or I can go and hopefully get lucky and only spend 500 by the Make-A-Wish thing, and maybe I get the blueprint. Hoard that stuff and maybe take a step back and think about what kind of player you want to be, because the other stuff that helps out is also your armor. Take your time and actually look at what the armor does. All the armors have sets that you can use, and they give you extra bonuses. Like this is the Savior Hood. If you're wearing one piece of the 6, you get medicine cooldown minus 20%. Two pieces of the set when HP is above 70%, weapon and status damage plus 10. So actually take some time, look at the sets that are available, and make sure you know what you want before you start spending any of that Starcrom. Trust me, you're going to want to do it. I didn't, and I've only got 2,000 at the moment. It's not enough. I need to wait for the next phase, and this is my main save. So I've kind of limited myself heavily as to what I actually have access to, or whether I just go for the luck. And there's too many bad things on that list that just aren't worth it. So that's tip 1. Hold on to Starcrom and make sure you know what you want to do with it. There's only 4 different ways to grab it, and it's kind of rough. Tip number 2, Acid. I've already done a video about Acid in Once Human. I'll link that up here. But you still need to hoard a ton of it. And I did learn something. Thank you guys for commenting on these videos. I do really, really appreciate it. With Acid, there is one other way that I didn't mention in that video to be able to get it. Thank you guys for commenting about this. Let me just read the comment from Joppy Man. says you can harvest it if you have part of your base in a polluted area. You can use a ground pump to pump up polluted water and refine it to get acid. You can automate the process. So thank you guys for commenting. I do appreciate that. And I highly, highly recommend doing that. The downside is you'll probably take a little bit of hit to your sanity. So long as a portion of your base where you're trying to pump up that water is in a polluted area of the map, you'll be all good. You'll be able to get it. But it still takes a while. It is one of the better methods. It is one of the free methods. Otherwise, if you want more methods on that one, please go check out that other video. The reason you want so much acid is largely later game. So if you guys have just started and you're only in phase 1, you only have access to phase 1, you're not going to have access to tungsten and aluminium, which require acid to be able to produce. Now, there are different ways to grab acid. I've mentioned those in that other video. Please go watch it. It'll give you a much bigger and in-depth look at how to get acid in this game. The quickest and easiest method is to either buy it from other players or go to a town that is full of deviants and just start, you know, taking them out all the time. The third tip I have is to do with your gear. Now, I highly recommend, and this is my personal opinion, I don't know if people agree with me, let me know in the comments if you do, but I do kind of think that it would be a really good idea to skip tier 4, okay? And the reason I say that is it's very beneficial once phase 2 hits to go into the highest level, because that way you've got access to tungsten and aluminium all at once. You can follow the story and you'll get access to aluminium and then you get access to tungsten. But if you waste your resources on tier 4, you're going to need more anyway when you hit tier 5. Specifically on your calibration. It does use different things, but it all uses Stardust in the end. And I've done a video on Stardust as well. Make sure you go look at that. Again, it'll be linked up here. You don't want to waste that because it does become a pretty important resource throughout the game. Just like acid was, you don't want to waste it. You want to try and hold on to as much of it as you can. And there are various ways to get Stardust. But wasting it on calibrating tier 4 gear when you go up with a significant jump to tier 5... I just prefer skipping tier 4, and it's exactly what I've done on another server, and it's been very beneficial. In order to use tier 5 gear, you do need to be level 40. The grind from level 30 to 40 doesn't feel anywhere near the same as from like level 1 to 25. It feels a whole lot easier. The enemies you're taking out have like grant you so much more XP, and it just becomes a bit easier once you get into that next stage of the game. So my personal opinion, don't waste your Stardust, don't waste your resources on like some of the tiers of your weapons. Tier 3 does just fine so long as you have calibrated it. And then once you do upgrade, this is like a second part, once you do upgrade to the new one, make sure you are scrapping your old ones. You get some of the resources back, which is incredibly useful. Make sure you're also scrapping the weapons that you find in weapons crates. They will potentially give you Stardust if they're calibrated. So that's a big tip. Big tip. So that's tip number 3. Don't waste your resources, specifically Stardust, in upgrading needless gear. Make sure you kind of work out what you want first and then go for it. Tip number 4 is going to be to do with your Deviants and how to get a few of the like pretty important ones, in my opinion. So the first Deviant I want to talk about is the Digby Boy. You can get these by harvesting tin and silver. That's how I've gotten them. There probably are easier ways, but just random harvesting can grant you one of these guys. So that's how you get them. Early game, Digby's are really, really good. Okay, they will find you valuable resources just based on the area that your base is in. So early game, these guys are fantastic, so you don't have to waste some time going out and mining. And once you get to a higher location, they'll be able to mine the stuff that's there. So tungsten and aluminium in the area that I'm in, for example. We can collect all of this. This guy gives us iron, sulfur, copper, and tin. Like, it's just a varying amount. And it depends on what level they are. We got some lithium crystals, beryllium. Holy crap, that's insane. That is insane. They'll give you some really good resources depending on their level. So make sure you're using those guys pretty consistently, but there are better ones as you get further into the game. I haven't changed mine out. I need to. I also need to get other deviants to help me out in the game. The second deviant we're going to talk about is the Lethal Rabbit. And the reason he's good is because he will fetch meat and rawhide while he's working around your base. You only get it when you've harvested the meat from a rabbit. You can potentially get one of these guys. I got mine on my 7th rabbit, but I also know people who got it on their like 120th. We can claim all of this, and over here on the left, you'll see that it gives us Rawhide. Rawhide is the one thing you will go through a lot of, specifically in early game. So Rawhide's one of those things where it's kind of annoying to get, but the lethal rabbit just does it by sitting in your base. Super useful. Highly recommend grabbing one of those. The logging beaver is another fantastic deviant. These are all specific to base location work, and that's what I want to talk about specifically with the deviants. This guy will go and fetch logs for you, and potentially other resources, but logs are the biggest one. So if you don't want to go out and, again, waste time, these guys are fantastic for doing stuff behind the scenes while you're out doing tasks or doing missions in the game. They'll just passively get resources for you, and it is super helpful just to give you that bit of a kickstart. And I've done a video on where to get these guys as well. One other really important deviant to have in your base is the electric eel. I mean, you can see it just below my webcam here, but electric eels increase the power limit of generators according to the electric eel's energy level. So these guys are really good to have in your base. You will need to switch out various deviants inside your base every now and then, depending on what you're going to need at the time. I don't remember how I got the electric eel. I'm sorry. Please let me know in the comments how to get them. There are a couple of others that I do recommend, but I don't want to talk about specifically. That would be Shivasaurus Rex. You will get him doing some of the side quests with Leon. He's really cool to have in your base, as well as like the Buzzy Bee. There are really good ones, but I don't think these guys are the ones I want to specifically speak about. I do want to talk about combat just a little bit, because you will need one of these in your securement units inside your base. I do always recommend bringing one with you. It's really hard to fight without them, and they're just a cool little resource. I don't use mine as much as I should, but they do help in those really tough fights. I've been using the Polar Jelly. You can get this from doing the Cargo Scramble World event. It's a random chance, so you might not get it on your first one. You can just do a few of them, though. And you also want Sproutlets. They're going to help you out in the game. The canine skull is one that I see the majority of people using. You can get it from doing the 4th boss in the game. Okay, that unlocks at phase 2. You get it from doing the 4th boss in the game, and it is insanely good at combat. Highly recommend using this one if you haven't chosen to use it already. The 5th and final thing I wish I knew before I started playing was to not hastily go through and select my specializations when I unlocked them. Now that I know what I'm doing, I do that, but I also talk to the people I'm playing with and members of my server to be like, hey, what do you have? What would be useful for me to get if I can unlock it? The backpack expansion, the backpack expansion is a fantastic one. The solar drill is really good. Anything that helps you produce acid is really, really good. So yeah, make sure you think about what you want to do. That's with your memetic specializations and the standard tree as well. You can refund your memetics at some point. You can refund your memetics if you need to down the line, but there are certainly things I would recommend pushing, like trying to get to advanced synthesis, advanced tools, and advanced gear as soon as you can. As you can see, I kind of skipped over a lot of things. These drones are insanely good early game. Do recommend. Have a good look at all the different memetics trees and work out what kind of player you want to be. Same with your gear. Make sure you know what you want before you go ahead and spend it. You can get a refund. Your energy links will take a small hit. You do get all of the memetics back, so you don't lose out if you have to refund them. But do think about what you want to do first. I didn't. I just started going for it, and I kind of regretted it because early game money can be an issue unless you get lucky enough to get certain specializations like the combo chip or the precious metal refining. Silver you can find pretty much anywhere, and that sells for a lot. You just sell it in villages. So it can be an issue early game. It's not usually too bad, but you don't want to get stuck having no money to be able to upgrade weapons and upgrade things, especially if you get stuck. It's a bit of a grind to catch back up when you get stuck. I did that recently and I hated it. Thankfully, my friend had precious metal refining and gave me a few silver ingots to go and sell. Those are kind of my 5 tips I wish I knew before I got into Once Human. Don't squander your Starcrom is the first. You're going to want that. I want it now and I don't have it and I regret it. Don't waste your acid. Make sure you're hoarding it as much as you can. Find people selling it. Find the ways to make it. I've done a video on it. Make sure you go check it out. Third one, make sure you know what kind of player you want to be. It'll help you out a ton, and it means that you can put your Starcrom towards the correct blueprints when you buy them from the wish machine. Number 4, make sure you're using your deviants well. Make sure you're using them at your base as well. Make sure they're just set up and ready to go. And tip number 5, use your memetics wisely, specifically the specializations. it makes a massive difference towards the late game, that's for sure. As somebody who's played too many hours of this, it makes a huge difference down the line. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know your top 5 tips as well in the comments down below. I am going to do more videos like this because there's always tips and always things that I'm learning about games. And a lot of it comes from you in my comments, and I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in a future video.